Hello, welcome to the recording. We are about to finish. Inco noted. So, welcome to the fast forward. Every problem has been solved. So I guess we could just skip to the end now. School advance and some impossible combination of being a slow dredge day in day out, and a whirlwind blur. Me and Olivia had settled on waiting until I got my neck brace off before we could go to the fountain. Wasn't any grand reason for that. Just felt like a good final milestone in my recovery and hers. She'd been practicing her craft in other ways to shake off the rust in anticipation. Many dozens of smaller works. Cityscapes, grassy fields, islands in the sky, all plucked from her memories or fantasies and laid out on paper or canvas. Portraits as well, found themselves laid out into the physical world. Portraits of myself, Damien, my parents, and especially me. She loved painting me, which was the most charming and beautiful thing. Not that she didn't often take artistic liberties with my painted proxies to have fun about it. I would complain, of course. It was my duty as the subject and her boyfriend. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. The remaining weeks passed and my final immediate checkup happened with Dr. Nickett, who, again, doesn't fucking matter. Why does this guy exist as a named character at all? Right, we'll get to that when we get to that, but I'll have forgotten by then, so be glad. Very pleased with my progress. The brace came off for that final time, and it felt like bookending of the most intense time of my life. There were slight tears at the little ceremony of the moment. For anyone else, it may have been because they were finally free of a stuffy medical device, but to me it was a proper sort of start for the whole rest of my life. It was kind of cheesy, but who cares? We tried to find some time to go on dates as regularly as possible before that point. I loved doting on her. We would try various restaurants around town and the city proper. Liz had her recommendations, which were usually great. Damien had his recommendations, which were usually, interesting. Very interesting, Mr. Jones. We had built up quite the list of what restaurants were our go-tos for any occasion, let alone the fun side activities around them. Olivia would give me passing grades at each excursion, but with a smile on her face and the blush of her snout would always belie how happy she really was. Why are you using the fucking term belie? Jambalaya. When the big day finally came, me and Olivia made a whole day of it. One of the places Olivia herself had put a pin in and was waiting for a special occasion was this hibachi. You can't just copy ending 4 like that, but fair. We're just copying stuff. About your girl date, then to the fountain, borrowed a camera from Ben. I'm skipping this because, I don't... We'll get to this, right? I don't want to fucking read. Chapter... I borrowed a camera from Ben, who was happy to oblige. Olivia was slowly but surely pressuring me to get back into photography over the last weeks, same as she dove head first into getting back into her painting. I was fully truthful that I would get back to my old craft. I certainly wasn't lying to her, but I would admit to myself that I was putting off buying a new camera a little. It was a bleak spot in my memory, one I was slow to broach. But as I had promised, I'd keep my Fuck off! Rewrite that. E-. Therapy was helping with that as well, of course. Why are you writing as well, of course? Why are you doubling up? My man, you're doubling up in really weird places. This author does not seem to understand that your cadence of your sentences, the structure of the prose, just doesn't gel like that. This is a little weird and redundant. Although I guess the point is that he's reminiscing. But that works way better if a character isn't summarizing. This works in a scene because someone is tripping over their own words. They're in the moment. But this seems to be like a reflection from the future. In which case he has all the damn time to think about what he's saying. Mr. Ferris was true to his word, and both myself and Olivia, along with several other students that had found themselves emotionally neglected in the wake of Mr. Yatikan's passing, apparently, were provided service in that regard. Holy shit! That's a run-on sentence. Please clean it up. Why is the fucking intermission longer than the actual goddamn sentence? What are you doing? The details weren't especially important, but I could tell that it was helping both of us. Our lifelines between each other, and both of our families helped immensely, but a little bit of additional professional help was the icing on the cake of our road of betterment. That metaphor was kind of... Shut up. But healing the emotional traumas was a process. And a process that didn't allow me to buy a replacement camera for myself. Didn't yet. But I could stomach using Ben's for a day if it was to facilitate my true goal. Helping Olivia keep her promise to Mr. Yadakan. Lunch was spectacular. I almost got my eyebrows singed off by the chef when he created a little volcano out of an onion ring tower with some cooking oil. But between not actually losing that little hair I have left and Olivia's gleeful cackles, I would look past it. And the food and show were as spectacular as Olivia made them out to be. We ate our fill, probably overate, absolutely stuffed ourselves. But today was a big day, and we'd want our energy. We navigated our way to the same fountain where we had confessed to one another, what feels like a lifetime ago. Again, something about these sentences is a little clumsy. The year was in the ending phases of winter, but he hadn't yet committed to spring. There wasn't any snow on the ground, but it was still cool. It's been 1 week! I know it's not true, but, like, that's what it feels like. It's like, come on! You can have time pass. Also, you mentioned that it was like a freak incident that it was snowing at all. I saw to it that Olivia had a thick blanket and a new purple hoodie to keep her warm while she watched me work. It was slow going initially. I had to get back to the sensation of how to work the camera. But with how important these pictures would be, as well as Olivia's mixture of earnest encouragement, as well as playful jeering, I found my groove with it again. Took pictures of everything. The fountain, the arcs of water shooting from it, the caustic... The caustic? It's water, not acid! The caustic light bands with... Unless there's like a definition I don't know about. Scathing... Sarcastic in a scathing way. Able to burn or corrode. A caustic substance or a caustic surface or curve. What? What the fuck is a caustic substance or curve? A caustic surface or burning curve in geometric optics is the boundary accessible and inaccessible regions for a given family of light rays. So either Inco is like ass pulling a fucking term out of nowhere, but what the hell, man? Just be James. Listen, I'm all for James Sunderland, the school dino psychiatrist. I'm for it. You got my blessing. The caustic light bands within the pools themselves. The stones that made up the wall of the fountain itself. Why itself? As well as a whole pathway looping around it. Just take a fucking video at this point, man. The trees that encircled the landing the fountain was on, as if it was this special, secluded world protected by a wall of nature. Stood on the edge of the fountain for extra height, and snagged a few shots of the surrounding landscape. It took a protracted period of badgering and bribing from her, but I even took a couple of shots of Olivia. First few were awkward at first. Yes, the first few were awkward at first, because they're the first few! Jesus Christ, man! Why are you doubling down so much in, like, the weird ways? It's not even cute interesting. It feels like you didn't know you wrote the first thing in the first place, bordering on unpleasant with the memories that came to mind. You've been looking at her for fucking weeks, man. Although I guess the idea is, like, you're... Listen, I could understand that you're hesitant to take pictures at her from above, but... I don't know, man. But with each one she coaxed out of me, the easier they became. By the end of the... Also... It's kind of interesting that Olivia's like, take pictures of me. Take pictures of me like you're French women. The easier they became. In the session, I couldn't help but ham it up each time I swung around to take a picture of her. Just maybe a few playful squeals and protests every time. I want to capture it all. Seared into memory and memory card, leaving nothing out so Olivia could produce her most meaningful piece of work to date. I would like to point out that I get that Inco had this massive world-changing event, and he was a big smart boy, and he's so smart and emotionally intelligent, he managed to talk himself out of being a fucking asshole. But Olivia doesn't have that. Olivia still sucks. You're getting an ending 3 at best, man. Our date concluded. Olivia was practically vibrating when I got her home. She was absolutely elated at how well our date went, but I could tell by the end of it that her mind was ready to cast into her work. I playfully chastised her about neglecting her boyfriend for work. You won't end up like my mom and my dad. My dad! Whack! Mateo said in response. Oh, look, it's an actually clever sentence. Fair enough. We got inside, and she immediately cast off her extra layers and wheeled herself into her room. She was made of fire and passion, and needed to begin turning that into something tangible. I couldn't possibly be mad. I hung out with Damien and Vinny for a bit, playing some games with them. I was still a very, very long way from being anywhere good, but true to their plan, I had been playing the console they gave me periodically. I wasn't good, but at least I was able to put up some kind of fight for them now. Wani and Sophia were happy to see me as well, of course. We made small talk, and an offer for me to stay for dinner. I had to decline. Mom and Dad and their hard-working employees had closed a major project, and we were going to all go out and celebrate together. The Payne parentals were, of course, gracious about my rejection and told me to pass along their congratulations. Before I departed my second home, I found myself to Olivia. Just find yourself in her lair, please. All the pieces she'd been pumping out adorned her walls. Again, like, Inco bounces between sounding pompous and going back to Inco slander speech. It's really weird. It was like in the movie where a crazy person would tape newspaper articles to the walls to show how insane and obsessed they were. Only here was a beautiful collage of my gator girl's artistic passions. It was already completely zoned in. So, like, couldn't you do something where she takes those pictures and incorporates them into her own? Like, directly? To show, like, listen, Inco, we're one now, woo! Sketching out ideas onto paper, building the frame and composition out that she would eventually layer with paints. She was gone from me, lost in her fugue. That's not fugue, that's flow! That's a flow state, a zen state, a strange mood. She's going to make you a picture with cabochons. You better get her some dragon bones, buddy. Cabochons! I provided my finger to Guts for the sniff check, which I seemed to pass, and walked over to Olivia, who was laid out on a beanbag chair sketching. I am heading out. I have dinner with my familia, I said with my TTS. No goodbye to your novio! Oh, that was harsh. I stood looking at her desk and saw the quill pen I gave her for Christmas. Hold on. Hold on. Hold the fucking phone. We know exactly what we're talking about when it comes to Christmas.
We can always work things. Great grandma, you always know just what to say. Christmas.
Exactly. What better captures the Christmas spirit? What better captures the Christmas spirit? Christmas! It was a centerpiece element of a desk's layout. I felt a smile tug at my mouth. She'll keep it, Mr. Yadakan. It'll be the best damn painting you've ever seen. I turned to leave, but a tail caught my leg. Unable to advance, I pivoted back to her and leaned down. I started to say with a smile, but I was rudely interrupted. She leaned up her snoot and kissed me. Clever girl. Thanks, Inco, for everything today. I tell your parents I said hi. Her eyes were locked on her work, but her tail was still locked onto me. She was waiting for affirmation. I confirmed. Her tail released me, and I lay on down for a final kiss on top of her head before exiting. Could the though? I don't know. Like, you don't want your denouement to be too long. This is 8 chapters. Do we really need a long denouement? It's more that it wants to end really late. Like, you could end sooner, right? You can be like, okay, things are fine from here on out. The ending is not that far off. Remember that the ending of Ending 1 happens, like, after Olivia's in the hospital, and it's been, like, what, at most a week. That's generous. Took another week of regular support for Olivia's process. Support in this case meant sitting beside her, occasionally holding her hands, occasionally rubbing her back, and the whole time amusing myself by catching up on various anime recommendations she had for me. This boyfriend and art muse thing was awesome. She didn't let me see the complete work, of course. No one says it before it's done. Damien, of course, stop, don't use of course that much. You gotta have a sentence of spacing. Damien was quick to praise her artistic skill, which were so clearly refined that she didn't need to see it while making it. Which earned him an impressively annoyed groan of the joke. Oh, what? But the week passed quickly. And sure enough, the day came. She texted me Sunday morning that today would be the day. Arrived early and found myself at her side, faced crossways from her, to keep the mystique of the painting while I watched shows. You're weird, man. Her brushstrokes were impassioned, and for the last 20 minutes or so, it seems like she barely breathed at all. Soon enough, she let out a slow, long breath, a pause of quiet, and a whisper. Okay. I turned to her. Uh-huh. She stared at the painting, her eyes whipping across its surface, looking for anything that she was displeased with. After a moment of intense scrutiny, no fleck or stroke of paint unobserved, she ceased. If you really think about it, if I think about what? If I think about what? What am I thinking about? You tell me, brain boy. Okay, it's done. She smiled. I cheered. Damien out in the living room also cheered. I don't think he was really sure what he was cheering about, but he joined me right along anyways at the moment. This guy.